How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
It is our favorite night of the week, guys. It's Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in live to How About That Cigar on Facebook. We're so grateful that you're here with us. If you're listening on the audio podcast, guys, thanks so much for spending some time with us while you're driving down the road, while you're working out, while you're mowing the grass, whatever it is you do while you listen to podcasts. Thanks so much for joining us. Guys, we have a great show for you tonight, and we're really excited to get into it. But just a couple things to start us out here this evening, guys. This is something brand new. We're so beyond excited about it. We are now coming to you live from the Drew Estate Studios. That is right. We are now sponsored by Drew Estate Cigar Company, and we are so grateful to be partnered with them in this great business of premium cigars and this great culture that we love so much. So let's get started right away by talking to you about the new Pappy Van Winkle Family Reserve Barrel Fermented. This cigar is a long filler premium cigar rolled in limited quantities at La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate in Esteli, Nicaragua. Deep barrel fermentation is the key process that makes this expression vastly different from anything on the market. Hand-selected leaves from Kentucky are packed into small torquettes or bundles of tobacco, which are then loaded strategically into oak bourbon barrels. Water is then added while immense pressure is applied to the torquettes via railroad jacks. The tobacco is removed 2 to 3 times per year, shaken out, then repacked. The total process of fermentation takes 12 to 18 months, leaving a truly unique flavor profile and aroma. The Pappy Van Winkle Family Reserve Barrel Fermented is now available at brick and mortar Drew Diplomat retailers. So guys, check that out. And thanks so much to our new sponsors, Drew Estate. So, Garrett, a little bit of NFL football over the weekend.
Yes.
Both our teams did well. Your Vikings, my Packers. So,
yeah,
you know, things across the NFC North are looking not too bad unless you're the Bears.
Oh, my gosh. Well, just when you thought the Bears were going to, run everything, they've been riddled with injuries and, just a lot of other things that are really affecting the Bears game. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little something starting up right now, actually tonight. It actually started a little while ago, but there's something going on. What is it?
Is it on, it's not on grass. Is it on ice?
No, it is on grass.
Oh,
it's the World Series.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. You know, the World Series.
I'm bitter.
Yeah. We're bitter Twins fans seeing our team.
I'm glad that, our New York guys did not.
I'm glad to see that the Twins.
So the Astros,
yeah,
dude, that walk-off was probably the coolest thing.
That was a great moment in baseball history. Honestly, that's one of those moments that 30 years from now, people are going to be watching clips of it and saying, "I remember when that happened." You know, it was a great walk-off. It was a great way to lead into a World Series. My pick is Houston's going to win it in 6 games, but we'll see.
I'm right there with you.
Are you?
I am.
Okay.
Their pitching is just.
Now I have a soft spot for the Nationals just because they're
the Twins' origin started.
Yeah. That's where the Twins originally came from, and it's something that we love to see the Nationals win. But I think overall that Houston, the Astros are a more rounded team, and I think they're going to take it in 6.
And the thing that has really kind of annoyed me has been the fact where announcers will say, and the Nationals haven't been to a World Series since 1920, whatever it was. And I was like, eat a D, because they haven't had a team since 61
right
before, a few years ago. So
you can't compare it.
It's
like comparing the Browns and the Ravens. You just, the old Brown or the
Oilers
Baltimore
haven't
Colts.
Been to the Super.
Yeah. So guys, again, thanks for watching episode 31 of How About That Cigar. Thanks for listening. Tonight. We are like crazy excited. I have known about this app, this community that was put together. I've been a member myself since 2014. I think Garrett's been a member since
14,
about that same time.
Matt, you let me know about it.
Yeah, it's a great community of people who are like-minded and loving the world of premium cigars, and we are so excited this evening to get to talk to Eric Guttormson, Mr. Master Sensei himself from Cigar Dojo. Eric,
wow,
how you doing?
you actually said my last name correctly.
Well, we're from up north, so we know those
all the
the
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian type names. We're well versed.
That makes me feel right at home. All of a sudden, I feel like we're gonna eat some lefse. It's just gonna be an amazing night.
Lefse pickled herring, okay, but I draw the line at the lutefisk. Forget that's not happening.
Have you ever had komla?
No, what is that?
You've never had komla? Okay,
I've never heard of it.
Komla is like you take like what's left over of potatoes and you mash it up, and then you add starch to it and you boil it, and you reform it into like a potato. Now get this, it doesn't end there. You reform it into the shape of a potato, right? And this is gonna drive people crazy. Then you douse it in bacon grease. You just bacon grease. Then it's not over yet, boys.
So far I see no problem. Keep going.
Yeah.
Then you take your fork and you cut off a piece of this weird sort of starchy potato thing, and now it's covered in bacon grease, and then you rub it in butter and you eat it.
I love everything you just said. I am in.
It's true.
Count me in.
Now, where does that dish come from?
That's Norwegian.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah. It'll definitely. I guarantee there's probably 100 people in our lives that know how to make that dish. So we're gonna have to look that up.
Oh no doubt.
I feel like if you eat that as a kid, right? If you just grow up eating that like I did, there's no way that your arteries are just so conditioned to handling that mass of cholesterol that you're just immune. It's like getting a flu shot, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you the strength, and next thing you know, you've got the strongest arteries on the block.
Exactly. I'll probably die of a heart attack tomorrow, and people will make fun of this interview. But hey.
So Eric, I have to say, when I always think about before each show what we're gonna smoke, and I know you guys do too. You want to be relatable to the people that you're talking to, and I could not resist this evening to pull some dogmas out of the drawer.
Taking the doggy for a walk.
No, I'm not gonna. Now, Garrett, I love you, but mine is an OG.
Wow.
Oh, dang.
Those just get better and better.
Now this is my last OG dogma.
Okay.
And
what is that, circa
2013?
14?
2014. Yeah.
So, but
that's already 5 years ago?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now yours, Garrett, is from 2 years ago. Right. It's not from this year's release. It's from 2 years ago. So
my first one.
Well, they're all identical, but of course, with some cigars, they can taste better with age, and the Dogma has a propensity to get a sweeter and sweeter note to it as it goes along. So, like Matt, you're probably getting some sweetness that maybe Garrett isn't getting, but that's one of my favorite cigars to age. It ages phenomenally.
Yeah. And I remember when, so I was fortunate enough back in 2015 to go on the, if I remember right, it was the first ever dojo cigar safari to Drew Estate down in Esteli, Nicaragua.
That's right.
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. Great group of people that we all got to go down there together with, and one of the great cigar experiences that I've had in my life was actually sitting on that patio overlooking that vista in Nicaragua, smoking a Dogma, drinking whiskey, talking. It was until all hours of the night and in perfect weather conditions. It was just a great trip together with you guys.
Yeah, what was weird about that trip was that was the only time we ever went at a strange time of year, because there was no tobacco growing, there was no tobacco in the curing farms. We went in, I think, November maybe.
Yeah, it was November. They just barely had the little tiny baby, seedlings in the.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a fun nonetheless. You can't not have fun there, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's just such a great time. And like you said, you get up early in the morning and get your coffee and your cigar, and you're sitting out on that patio, just looking over the valley. Oh,
yeah.
God.
So, Eric, tell me about back when when you first started Cigar Dojo, did you always intend it to be this sort of community that it has become? Because it really has become an online cigar community. It's not just a blog, it's not just a media site, it's not just an app, it's actually a community of people. And did you always imagine it to be that, or did it turn into that sort of beyond your expectations?
So what happened was, back in the day, we started a website called quickcigarreviews.com. And the idea with quickcigarreviews.com was it wasn't going to be a community or anything like that. Like, at the time, I was really busy with other clients and doing what I do. I do some work for NASCAR and some other companies like that. But I have a history, a background in community building. I've built several large communities that are still around to this day. And so quickcigarreviews.com was just going to be basically like a blog for me and Jordan and Matt, a different Matt, to just kind of like catalog our own cigar smoking experience. And but my expertise was in SEO, and so like the site started to kind of take hold and like get some traction, you know. And but we didn't like the name, like quickcigarreviews.com. It didn't seem like very brandable, because we weren't expecting it to take off.
Yeah.
And so then in February of 2012, we changed it over to Cigar Dojo, because we thought that was way more brandable, and And so cigardojo.com was just a blog. There was no community or anything like that at all. And for about 6 months, we did that. And then I just had this crazy idea. Hey, guys, I was talking to Jordan and Matt, like, what if we, turn this more into like a interactive site and did this app? And so
can I interrupt for 1 second?
Absolutely, yeah.
Dojo. Tell me about Dojo and where that came from, if you don't mind.
So actually, Jordan thought of that name because we were going through like a million, like trying to find like something really good and brandable. And we wanted the idea of like a community where you help each other out. Like,
I like
you go
it.
into a humidor and you say, hey, should I smoke this? No, I don't like that. Try that instead. So like our idea was the community would be based on like kind of helping each other out. So what name goes, like training, like what name goes along with training each other, cigar school, cigar college, those are kind of lame. And so Jordan Jordan was the one that thought of Cigar Dojo, and then I came up with the logo for it, and so it just took off. And it once the community really got rolling, it was bizarre. Like, I never thought that it would turn into what it turned into. And I always thought of this would be like a side project for me. I never thought that I'd be doing this for a living. And, here we are, however many years later, 7, 8. And this is what I do, for a living.
That's all.
That's got to be, I mean, when you reach that point, that day when you said to yourself, okay, this is my full-time gig. I mean, waking up, that first day or that first couple days, realizing this is my regular everyday job. I'm not going to an office. I'm not, and I know you did a lot of your work from home anyway before that, but what was that like? Just feeling that feeling and knowing, okay, this is my gig now, and this is what I get to do every day. What was that like for you?
I think it was more just like a progression, because even when it started to catch hold and we knew that, wow, there's some traction here and we're getting some attention in the industry. Like Abe had me on his show early on Kiss My Ash Radio. And I think that was the first time. I think that was probably the first time I thought, wow, maybe there's something to this, when Abe called me up and contacted me, and he was like, where did you guys come from? Like out of nowhere, like you guys are just everywhere. Like your reviews are everywhere. People are talking about you, and so he had me on his show. And I remember thinking that day, like, maybe this has legs, maybe it has a little bit of legs. But then there was never a time where I just said, okay, I'm just going to do this now. Instead, it just sort of like turned into that over time. Like I just started doing less and less other projects because I had less and less time to do other projects and consulting that I normally did. And so, within about 2 years, that's pretty much all I was doing. And Jordan was working at Lowe's, and he was full time at Lowe's, so he would just help out. And about a year after that, then this is probably 2014. Then we took him on full time, and that was kind of scary because I was thinking, geez, my son, he's got this pretty decent job at Lowe's. I mean, he's not like a manager or anything, but he's got a good job at Lowe's, and he wants to quit and just do this full time. Like how long can we support him? I'm thinking maybe 3 months. What if we could keep him on for 3 months full time? That would be great. But ever since then, he's been full time ever since, and obviously we have a bunch of guys that write for us as well. So we have people that are sort of part time, if you will, and it's crazy. I wouldn't have, 7 years ago, if somebody would have asked me, where we'd be today, I would never have guessed that we'd be doing this like we are today.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So along the way, how long was it before you did the first episode of Smoke Night Live?
So our very first episode of Smoke Night Live was this, I think it was like our 3rd or 4th anniversary. And we thought, hey, let's just do like this live show, and it'll be fun. We'll give away a bunch of prizes, and it'll be, the Cigar Dojo birthday party show. And so we did the Cigar Dojo birthday party show, and it was rudimentary, like Google Hangouts, and we just had this like hanging backdrop thing, and I didn't even have a mic or anything. Like I was just talking into the computer. It was I've went back and I've watched that show recently, and it was horrific. I can't believe anybody watched it, but for the time, I suppose that's kind of what everybody was doing. So it's not fair to really compare it, and so we did that show, and people liked it, and they said, oh, that was so much fun. We should do that all the time. And so then we did that. I think that year the next one we did was like our year-end awards, and we announced our picks for the Cigar of the Year live instead of doing it every day on our website. We just did it on the show. Yeah. And that got a ton of views, and we were like, wow, maybe there's something to this. And so then we kind of started doing this sort of, weekly show. And our idea was, we pick a terrible night, like Friday night, like Smoke Night Live is on the worst night because everybody's busy, right?
Yeah.
And, cigar personalities are usually at events. So it's the worst night that you can think of to do a show. But our idea was, let's just make our thing be like a fun end of the week deal. Well, let's just try to own Friday night. If we can just own Friday night, even though it's a terrible night for doing a show, I think people will have fun with it. And so that was sort of our plan all along, was to just, stick with Friday night. And that's what we've done. And it's, worked out for us. It's still, obviously it's a challenging night because people are doing stuff on Friday nights, and sometimes it's hard to get guests because, they got events to do and that kind of stuff. But hey, that's our night, and that's what we're sticking with.
Yeah. And it's been, over the years, I've been watching it for pretty much since the beginning. Yeah. And out of all the shows that you've done, there have been some hilarious moments on that show. Can you think of the most unexpected or funny or off the wall outrageous thing what is the one memory that sticks out from an event that happened on Smoke Night Live? Well,
probably the one that's the most famous is, and this is sad. It's even sad to bring up, but I don't know if you guys saw the one with Robbie. This is before Robbie was part of the dojo.
I know the one you're going to say, yeah.
And so Robbie was in studio, Robbie Rasmussen, and at the time he was with Mumbacho. And Jack was our guest host or co-host at the time. That's before he was with Alec Bradley. And so he's, to my right, and Robbie's in the middle. And so, Jack does his, hey, I'm a consummate professional, he says. He says, I've done my research. Now, Rob, you got some really cute dogs, and especially that boxer. And Robbie is like, we just had to put that boxer down this week.
Oh.
And Jack's face. I mean, we've watched that sort of that 5 seconds like 5,000 times because it's not funny because of Robbie. Of course, that's super sad. Nobody likes to lose an animal. It was just funny because Jack felt so bad, and you can, if you watch that episode, you see his face just like blood goes out of his face, just turns white, So that was probably the funniest thing. But we got some wild things like now for Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, we have a big party here, which by the way, I'd love to invite you guys next year. We have a big party at the studio. It's 2 nights before Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, and Eric Espinosa, Steve Saka, Skip Martin. I mean, pretty much anybody who's in the industry is here at the studio, and we'll have like 6, 8, 10 guests on in one night, and those shows are usually very memorable as well.
Yeah, and I will never forget that moment when Jack stuck his foot in his mouth like that. But then afterwards, when the edit came out with the the sad music and the close up on Jack's face where he sunk his head down. I mean, that it's still, obviously it's a sad thing for Robbie, but just to get at least a little bit of comic relief, to put a little silver lining around it, that just to see Jack's
Robbie's a good sport though. He's a super good sport, and he laughs about it too. Just because it was so painful for Jack. But the funny part about that show is if you see my face, I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like so stunned, that Jack was so, funny to he thought he was doing research, but it was like the absolute worst possible thing he could have said. It was great.
I have not seen that.
You have to see it, dude.
I've seen a lot. So I can't wait to go back and
we have a shortened, like, edited version that Matt was just talking about, and I'll try to send you guys a link to that so Garrett can watch it later. It's
awesome,
totally hilarious.
It's fantastic.
All right, now Eric. So I did, as I said in the pre-show, I did a bit of a digging and stuff, and I want to know. How much...
Well, hold on. Before you say it, you didn't have a dog die recently, did you, Eric?
No, actually, when my dog finally died, which was a couple years back,
Ned,
I was relieved. Like that, I'm so done with dogs. Like, no more dogs. So you won't hurt my feelings on dogs. Don't worry about that.
Unfortunately, this isn't about dogs.
Okay.
I'm wondering how much you enjoyed the shake weight challenge.
Oh God, that was so funny, man.
The what?
Oh yeah.
I never saw this.
So Matt, Matt, like the Aganorsa logo. It looks like it's holding some tobacco leaf.
Oh yeah, I do. Okay, it's all coming back now.
So when we went down to see Terrence in Miami, Jack had this idea. Hey, what if we made him, do the Aganorsa leaf, with the shake weight, And Terrence was just like, "What in the hell is wrong with you guys?" It was pretty funny. Yeah, it was pretty good.
No, dude, that was fantastic. You guys really made it work.
Oh man,
you were working it.
I don't know if you guys saw I think it was the same trip when we were down in Miami. We did a trivia contest. Did you see the trivia where we had it was the Eric and Jack off, and so
they were both sitting at that conference table,
right? So it was me and Eric Espinosa, the two Erics. So I'm Eric, he's Eric, and then it was Jack Geronio and Jack. So it was Eric it was the Eric and Jack off, and so it was a trivia contest. It's pretty hilarious. If you go back and watch that one, that one's pretty funny. And then of course, let's not forget, one of the greatest all-time live moments was when Jack got his tattoo in Honduras, because that was a classic. That was a classic moment.
Yeah. So, and for the longest time, I mean, not the longest time, but a week or two, I thought that was staged. I thought it was fake. And I sent Jack a message and I said, "This is BS, right? This didn't really happen. It's a fake, right?" And he sent me back a reply. He said, "No, dude, that's real." Garrett, tell Garrett, because Garrett hasn't seen this. Tell Garrett about Jack's special tattoo.
So the idea, well, actually, there was no planning to this thing. So we get down to Honduras.
There was drinking, but there was no planning.
Right. So it's the first night we're hanging out. I think at I don't know where we were, but Jack has this wild idea. He was like, what if I got the Camacho logo as a tramp stamp on my, on my back there, the scorpion. And Jack was drinking. We were all drinking a little bit, and yeah, that'd be hilarious. Da 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 da. And the Camacho people are like, hey, we can get a tattoo artist. We can find somebody. And so Jack's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's totally do it. No, yes. And I'm thinking to myself, because were you there, Matt, the time that Jack was going to get the cold infusion tattoo on his lip?
Yeah, on the inside of his lip. Yeah,
that was at Cigar Safari when you were there.
Yeah.
So I sort of talked him out of that because, like, I feel like I'm kind of like responsible for the guy, like he's a young kid, and his mom. I said, Jack, you can't do this unless you call your mom and I can talk to her on the phone. And so, like, she's kind of like, I don't think this is a good idea. You're in Nicaragua. He's going to get a lip tattoo. I mean, there could be a disease. She doesn't know. And I'm like, Jack,
what could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. So I talked him out of that. So that's just a backstory there. So, like, I talked him out of that. But so then I'm kind of trying to talk him out of this tramp stamp, too. So the next morning we wake up and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be great. Like, he's going to wake up. He's not been drinking this morning. Everything's going to be cool, right? No tramp stamp. Well, Jack is still determined. He wants this tramp stamp because he's the kind of guy that he goes all in. When he says something, he wants to follow through on it. And so, like, at that point, this is a couple years later, I'm like, I can't. He's an adult. I can't talk him out of everything. And so, sure enough, at the end of the week, they found some sort of a really good tattoo artist that sent like 200 samples. So we knew he was a good tattoo artist. And he came in and he gave him the tramp stamp. And the funniest part is, like, Jack does have a tattoo, but in the back there, it really hurts, like the lower back, so it's super painful because there's a lot of, and the tattoo guy told him that too, like, this is going to be really painful. And so Jack's starting to get the tattoo, and I go over to him, and I'm like, and this is, I think this is all on video. I can't remember, but I said, Jack, he's like, Eric, how am I doing? He's in total pain. He's practically crying. I was like, Jack, this is good, dude. Like, 3 legs of the scorpion are done. And I start to walk away, and he's like, Eric? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, how many legs does a scorpion have? Practically crying, And he did it. I mean, that dude, I got to say, man, that kid goes all in, and he's got a tramp stamp of a scorpion on his back. Yeah.
That is fantastic. That honestly, one of the funniest dojo moments that I can remember over the years.
Oh God!
Hey, Eric, tell everybody what you are smoking and drinking right now.
All right, so tonight I'm smoking the new Hoya de Nicaragua, Antonio, Connecticut, which, by the way, I knocked off the ashtray, and so that's why it's broken. Otherwise, it wouldn't be broken. But I am drinking some Old Granddad 114. This is a fantastic bourbon that's sub $30. So if you're looking for a really good bourbon that's sub 30, the Old Granddad 114 is excellent. And that's what I'm drinking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am. Well, yeah, Garrett and I are loving these dogmas right now. They're fantastic. Garrett, what Garrett can't talk. Garrett's speechless.
Is that normal or no?
No, dude. Yep, that's about it.
Yeah, he ain't got the words.
So this is the second year that's been a national release now.
Yeah.
And this year it got new packaging, but the cigar itself is the same.
And what's the sellout time on these?
So, well, I mean, they sold out at IPCPR, but of course that means that they went to Drew Diplomat retail shops, and so that you can find them. I'm sure a lot of them just hit like 3-4 weeks ago. So you should be able to find them at your local Drew Diplomat retailer, and hopefully we'll do it again next year. We'll see.
And what is the box count? How many?
It's a 10 count soft pack.
Okay, and how many did you make?
So this year, I believe there was 4,000 10 count bundles.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Hey, Eric, have you had this? Of course, it's not the bottle; that's the glass. You can't tell. The Henry McKenna 10-year.
Yes, I have some sitting right over there right now. It's
drinking that right now. It's a really another another good inexpensive
But
bourbon.
because last year, Matt, it was voted whiskey of the year,
And
it's much harder to find.
yeah, it was hard to find, and then the prices shot up. So I grabbed a few bottles in town before the word got out, fortunately.
Now this year, this 1792, one of the 1792s got that same honor.
Yeah.
And so maybe I haven't tried the particular 1792 that got that honor, and of course now it's probably going to be harder to find and more expensive. But maybe that'll mean that the Henry McKenna was a bourbon that we loved here
Yep.
at Dojo Studios for years, and when it was one of those deals where it got awarded that bourbon of the year whiskey, not just bourbon but whiskey of the year, which made it much harder to find.
Yeah, then everybody went after it.
Eric, have you ever had the Body Armor Orange Mango?
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a serious drink.
But God, I'm jealous.
Hey, for anybody who is watching live, please feel free to ask your questions. We may laugh at them, or we may ask them,
or we may laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
But one way or another, please ask your questions.
Ask questions, make comments.
So, Eric, I want to talk a little bit about your collaborations. All the, you guys have put out a lot of cigars with different companies with the Cigar Dojo name on them. What's, you started with the Dogma, obviously, but was there, out of all the Dojo collaborations, because how many have there been now? 13?
I think there's been 15.
15, okay.
Has there been 15? My trusty producer says 15 should be about right. I think there's been 15. And tomorrow, we will announce on our website the 16th.
The 16th.
Are you sure tomorrow?
Yes.
Are you sure you're going to do that tomorrow?
You're going to do that tomorrow? You're not going to do it right now?
Not right now.
Here's what I can tell you. I will tell you some breaking news.
Ooh.
Breaking.
I will tell you that there will be a release party at Wednesday, November 6th at the Smoke Inn at Boynton Beach. That's 2 days before La Zona Palooza. So the Dojo crew will be down there. Me, Jordan, Randy Griggs will all be down there. And that's when we will, you can buy it in-store that day or that night, I guess at 7 p.m. the party starts. And then on the Friday, which would be the 8th, it'll go on sale on Smoke Inn noon Eastern, as we normally do.
Yeah, awesome.
I can't tell you the cigar yet because that comes out tomorrow.
All right. So guys, pay attention to Cigar Dojo tomorrow. Out of all the collaborations that you've done, out of all these cigars from different companies and different flavor profiles, you really have mixed it up a lot, which has been great.
Mm-hmm.
But out of all those releases, has there been anything, have one of those cigars really surprised you, either because you couldn't believe how fast it sold, or it was a cigar that you thought, obviously it's a good cigar, but you didn't think it was going to be as big of a hit and sell like in minutes, like it ended up happening? What can you say about some of those collaborations?
Well, I guess we'll start with the Dogma, because when we very first did it, so we were doing this all started because we were doing we used to do a virtual herfs like on a Friday. This is before like we had a live show.
Yep.
We would do a thing called a virtual herf, and there'd be like one brand that everybody would just smoke it, and they would just share their pictures on the app, on the Dojo app. And we were doing a Tatawahe event, Tatawahe virtual herf or whatever. And Pete was on the app, and Pete was answering questions and all this sort of stuff. Pete Johnson of Tatawahe. And somehow, somewhere in there, I made a comment just on the app, like, hey, maybe there'll be a Dojo Tatawahe someday or something like that, right? And the next day, Abe from Smoke Inn called me, and he was like, hey, how would you like to, you want to actually do a collaboration? I was like, yeah, I mean, of course. And he was like, you just name any name you want to do a collaboration with, and we'll make it happen. And I was thinking to we had no idea what we were doing, right? And so I was like, wow, any name? So like the first name that came out of my mouth was like, I would love to do one with Jonathan, with Drew Estate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Abe was like, I'll text him right now. And he texted me back, and he was like, Jonathan's in. He loves the dojo. Because I knew Jonathan loved the dojo. Like he had already told me several times, like, like your community's positive. It's not one of these negative like forum groups where there's a lot of complaining and stuff. And so Jonathan loved the dojo already. And so the fact that he did made it that a little bit easier. And so Abe set that up. And then a year to the day is when we released the Dogma. But the point of the story was, at the time, I was thinking to myself, because you don't know, like, are any of these going to sell? I mean, like, are we going to sell like 30 of them or something? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, what to expect? I've never done this before. And so that particular release, we had got 200 bundles in to smoke in. And then about 2 weeks later, the other 450 were going to be available. And so I was hoping like, wow, what if we sold like 50 bundles today? Like this would be like super exciting, but like, how will we sell the rest? Like, I don't know. And so the first 200 sold out, and I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And Abe was excited, and Jonathan was excited, and everybody was excited. And then 2 weeks later, when we had the other 450, we put them on sale at Wednesday. Oh, so here was the thing. What we didn't realize back then, we said at noon or whatever time on Friday, we'll post the link on the Dojo app. We'll post the link to buy. So you can buy the Dogma at noon. If you just tune into your Dojo app at noon on Friday, boom, you'll see the link, and then you can buy. Well, that Friday, everybody was reloading the Dojo app so much that it just crashed the app, and the app didn't work at all. But we still sold all 200. So then we were trying to think like, all right, what are we going to do next time? We can't do that again because it crashed the app. There was too many people reloading, and the more they tried to, get in and it was crashed, the more they would try to reload. So it just was like, it made it worse and worse. It was like a vicious cycle. So then we thought, okay, Lynn, we'll do a midnight sale, basically. Like Wednesday, it was Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. That's in midnight Eastern. Maybe that'll make it less of a deal, right? Well, we sold all 450 bundles in like 5 minutes. No kidding.
Not hours, 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Jeez.
5 minutes. And the guys from Smoke Inn stayed up all night shipping every single one of them out. And so that was when we realized, wow, this is crazy. Like, we have, this community is great. We have something here, something special. And so from then on, we changed our strategy to where now we send an email first with the link in it so that people aren't trying to reload the app. That's why we do the email thing with our releases these days. But we've still crashed servers. We crashed the Famous server. We've crashed the Payless, the Smoker Friendly server. It's still as hard to release them because so many people want to get that cigar. So that was the craziest one. The Romacraft, the first time we did the Whiskey Rebellion, sold out in 55 minutes from Famous. But we've had some challenges too, because there's so many people that want these. Like we did the Bonsai just this year and the Feng Shui last year. We crashed the server and it took all day to sell it out. We probably could have sold the Bonsai out in 10 minutes, but the server crashed and it took all day to like process the orders. Yeah. So every single one has had like a challenge that way. Now, like when we did the Reviver through Atlantic, that went really smooth and it sold out fast. But I guess as far as cigars that surprised me, I think the Feng Shui was one of the ones that surprised me the most, because when we did the blending on the Feng Shui, we had done all the blending except for we said we wanted to be soft box pressed, right? We thought that would be a cool feature to that cigar. So we had done everything except for taste the cigars that had the soft box press.
I love it.
So when we finally got that cigar, even though I liked it, but I didn't think it was like the greatest thing that we'd ever done. But when we got the cigar, when it was soft box pressed, and this was really risky because it was the finished product. So if we didn't like it, there's no going back, Yeah. When we got that cigar finished completely, and the first time we smoked the soft box press version of it, me and Jordan both like, holy crap, this is better. This is way better than it was, when we had those blends. And still to this day, that's one of my favorite releases is the Feng Shui. I just love that cigar. I mean, me personally, it's just in my wheelhouse. Like I just love that full flavor, not necessarily full strength, but full flavor, like just flavor that just hits you. And so hopefully we can do that feng shui again, because that's a fantastic cigar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've really appreciated all the artwork on the collaborations. Is that a lot of that? Is that you?
So most of that, almost every time, it's us. Now the Dogma wasn't us.
Yep.
That was done by Drew Estate, which was, they did a super job. In fact, we didn't even think of the name. I think Jonathan Drew's mom thought of the name for that one. But normally what happens is we get blends. So like let's just take like the first sarsaparilla, for instance. They, Espinosa sends us a bunch of blends, and we try them, and then we decide based on the one that we like, what we're going to name it. And in that case, it tasted sort of, had a root beer kind of flavor to it. It sort of had a root beer note to it that we liked. And so we thought, some sort of like elixir, which was already used, and names like that. And I don't remember who came up with sarsaparilla, but sarsaparilla was just a perfect name for that cigar. And so then we did all the branding and the packaging and the whole 9 yards. So normally we do all that. Like the one that's coming out tomorrow, my son Dominic, who you may or may not know, Dominic did the artwork, which you'll see tomorrow. And then Jordan did all the package design and bands. So either I do it, like I did all the feng shui stuff, or Jordan will do it all. Like Jordan did a lot of the sarsaparilla stuff, especially sarsaparilla 2 and 1, the label on the packaging. Jordan did all of that sort of stuff. So me and Jordan just collaborate, or my other son Dominic helps out sometimes. And we have some failure stories. There's some funny failure stories too, that I could tell you. But so normally we like to do that, but sometimes the company does it. Other times, like the Room 101 stuff, Matt Booth did all that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other ones, Bonsai we did, and Reviver we did, and Dojo Deluxe we did, and all those kind of things. So it just kind of depends.
How about Nightstick?
So Nightstick and the K9, we did that. That's through Protocol, also Lazona product. But my brother-in-law, my wife's husband, is a K9 officer, and so when we were going to do something with Protocol, we wanted to, hook it into something that means something to us, that's important to us. And Gordon is his name. He's the Arapahoe County Sheriff's deputy. He had this great K9 at the time, who was, at the time we were doing that, had passed away. The dog passed away during. Here's a dog dying story. But, no, he lived a great life, and he did pass away during the making of the K9. But it was personal for us to do that one, and that was another one that sold out super fast. And then when we did Nightstick, we added to it. We did 500 instead of 300.
Yeah,
that sold out in one day. And so, and Hector came up with the blend on Nightstick entirely. Like that one, we didn't even pick any blends. Like Hector said, I have this blend that I just love. I want to see if you guys love it too. And we did love it. And so we didn't pick the blend, but we did all the branding and marketing. I think I did that one. So it's either me and Jordan. It's one of us usually does it.
Yeah. We got a great viewer question here from Steve. He wants to know, how do you choose who to collaborate with each time? So is it a company approaching you, or you approaching a company, or a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. That's a great question, Steve. Sometimes it's crazy. Like when Davidoff came to us and said they wanted to do a collaboration, that was that was very humbling. Like
It's gotta be a surreal moment. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like it's a very surreal moment. When Davidoff comes to you and says,
I wonder, I don't know, Davidoff.
Who?
yeah.
Like, well, I wonder.
The thing with that one was, we said back to them, and this is crazy, like we're going to make demands on Davidoff, but we didn't want to do just, because they do white label projects for shops already, and I'd had them, and they're good. There's no, you can't have a bad Davidoff usually, but I just didn't want that same, blend that they already do for a million shops, because a lot of people have already had that. And so, at the time we said, we want to do this project with you guys, but we want to push you guys on the blend. We want to do something that's never been done before, because almost all of these things, even back to the Dogma, that like this is like make an epic cigar. We don't want to just make a cigar that has it's just a different size and a da 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 da. Like, okay, who cares? But we want to push you guys on this. And they said, yeah, we have these archived blends that are amazing, and we really don't know what to do with some of them. So we'll send you, a bunch of these, and you pick one of them. We're like, wow, out of the archive. And so we got to pick one that was stronger, like it's not your typical Davidoff. And so that made it fun. Like, wow, this doesn't even taste like your typical Davidoff. It's so much stronger and more full bodied than a typical Davidoff. And so, but that cigar was like, should have been like a $40 stick. So we said, how can we get it down? Like, there's no way we can do a $40 stick. Cause the most expensive cigar we ever did was like $10.
Right.
And so they said, well, okay, how about if we don't do like the lacquer boxes and we don't do this and we don't do that? And we're like, yeah, fine. Put it in whatever. We don't even care. Like, how far can we get it down? So we got it down to $20 a stick. And that way we were able to bring a cigar that should have probably been a $40 a stick Davidoff to our community. That's a little bit more of a Joe six-pack community. And we like being the Joe six-pack community.
Absolutely.
And so, we were able to do essentially a $40 cigar for $20 because we just trimmed, we didn't do anything crazy on the packaging. Although, by the way, if you get that cigar, the packaging is still beautiful. But it's a fun project. So, then we did the bonsai this year, which was in August, and that was just a $5 stick, but it was real small. And our idea there was we want to try to make the best, small form factor cigar that's humanly possible. So it's like a little petite robusto. And at the time, we were going to call it the spring roll, right?
Yeah.
And it was going to be the cigar that came out right after the Davidoff. So we'd have our most expensive cigar, and then we'd follow it up with our least expensive cigar that we ever did. And as we were, I was literally, I worked on the artwork. We had this, the cool circle, just like it has now. I don't know if you've probably seen that cigar, right?
Yeah.
So it has like the circle with the logo in the middle and all that. And as I was doing that, as I was sending in the artwork to get the labels printed, that's when Punch Cigars came out with the egg roll, and it looked almost identical. What we were it was just a crazy coincidence.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, definitely I'm not saying that there was any nefarious stuff going on here. It was just a weird, because this is not the first time that's happened to us. It happens. Like, people come up with similar ideas.
Yeah.
So when that happened, now theirs was egg roll, ours was spring roll. We could probably still do it, but I didn't want anybody to feel at all like we were copying them, even though we weren't.
Yeah, totally.
And so then we came up with Bonsai, which turned out to be, even more fun because we had all the, Karate Kid stuff involved in it. So we switched it over to Bonsai, and then the whole marketing campaign changed to, basically, hey, Bonsai is the art of making something tiny that is just as magnificent as the larger version. And so it actually worked out, I think, better.
Yeah, it was. I remember when all the when the announcement came out and that cigar came out, because you first sold it at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, and we interviewed Skip on our show a couple months ago, and it wasn't long after he had just gotten back from Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, and he commented that he enjoyed that cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I hit the website after. I tried to hit the website and everything crashed. And I got in. It was the middle of a work day, and it happens. We weren't able to get our hands on that one. But from all the people that I talked to about that particular cigar, it's always great to find a small form factor cigar that fits into a great price point. Especially for, you guys in Colorado, us in Minnesota, you don't have a lot of time to sit outside. If you're gonna smoke outside, you don't want to be out there for a long time. So having a small form factor cigar, it really fits that climate perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that cigar, it was one of those. This is another example of something that sort of like was humbling and surprised me, was when we we figured like this is probably going to be pretty popular because of the price point, and it's Aganorsa leaf, obviously, and they make great They make great stuff. So we set up at Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, and there's a big line, but nobody's inside, and we're setting up because we sell T-shirts at Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. And right behind us is Terrence in his booth, and he has like, I don't know, 60 bundles of bonsai. And so they opened the gates for the VIP people, and there were people, I kid you not, that were running over. They were literally running through the thing to get to Terrence's booth to be the first to buy bonsai. And I can just remember me and Jordan looking at each other going like, this is incredible. Like I'm so humbled, and it's just so awesome that this community is so excited about what we do. And that's why we try, I know you guys know this, that there's brands that just pump out all kinds of crazy stuff that they find in the factory. Oh, here's some ones. Let's throw denim shorts on it and call it we never have done that. Like every single time we've said, no, we're gonna take every project that we do and give it 100% of our attention to make something hopefully kind of epic, like the Imperial Stout that we did with Camacho. Like, we got, the barrels from Oscar Blues that were whiskey barrels. By the way, they were barrels that probably had some of our favorite bourbons in them. I can't say what. And those were then they aged Oscar Blues 1050 in them.
Yeah.
And we had those barrels shipped to Honduras, and then we aged, the filler tobacco in those. And so like those types of projects, like, the point is like these things take a whole year of planning and doing, and it isn't just like we're pumping them out. Like 2020, we already have, we're well into working on the final cigars that won't come out for over a year from now. And we're working on them right now because we know that they have to be like, I never want to take advantage of the loyalty that we have with this community. I never want to just pump crap out and just say, oh, here's another cigar for you to buy. I want it to be something special, something a little different, something that makes this fun and exciting as a community.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have done a great job with, all those special collaboration cigars.
Yeah, that has been fantastic to watch. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and go into personal life. I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, Cigar Jukebox, and Dave it's a great show. And he has been repping your daughter on a lot of his shows.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm becoming a bit of a fan. She is incredibly talented. The harmonies that her and
it's actually two of my daughters. That's the harmonies.
Is it really? It's Mackenzie and
Cassidy. Yeah.
Cassidy.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was both your daughters. That is, dude. How proud are you? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's super exciting. I mean, they started doing this a few years back, just kind of for fun, and they were just them two with guitars, and they played around a lot of open mics and did that sort of stuff, and then they started kind of getting a little bit of a following, and they did this big. There's this big in Morrison, Colorado, where Red Rocks is. There's this big like battle of the bands kind of thing, and like. There's like, I don't know, I think 30 bands, and they all play at these different bars, right? Like they each get like a night to play at a bar. And then they take the top two most popular ones, and whoever wins gets to play at Red Rocks. And so the girls ended up being in the top two, and they won. And so they got to play at Red Rocks, and it's incredible. Like, I mean, it was like opening for this, Film on the Rocks thing. They weren't like the headline, of course, but they got to play at Red Rocks. And it was just totally awesome. And since then, they have a band. They're called The Drawn Out, and they've released an EP last year. And so they play at they're working on some new material now, but they play at some of the cooler venues in town, and it's fun. I try to go every time they play because I'm not just a proud dad. I'm like actually a fan. They write it's all kind of like, I guess you call it indie folk kind of stuff. Now they're getting to be a little bit more like maybe a little bit more punkish, a little bit more I guess more alternative. And so, it's fun. It's super cool. My daughter has a baby boy, so they can't focus on it maybe like as much as they should. And then my other daughter now, she's doing a youth with the mission thing. So they're real busy, but in the meantime, between all the things that they do, they have this band, and it's fun to. It's exciting and humbling, and I'm a proud papa.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
So, hockey.
Yes, baby. I'm a hockey nut.
So, the NHL regular season, we're a few weeks into it. I'll try to not talk a whole lot about the Minnesota Wild because
the tables have turned.
oh my gosh, it's rough right now to be
crushing it right now.
To be a Minnesota. Well, right now, yeah.
It was 3-0 the last I looked.
Well, it's nice to see 3-0 in our favor instead of the other direction, because
we can't stop a puck.
Too many shutouts. Devin Dubnyk, I don't know what happened to him.
Right?
But he was one of the best, and now he's one of the worst.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eric, I know you've been a big hockey fan for a long time. What are kind of the origins of your love of this game?
Yeah, it's crazy because I grew up as the biggest football fan that there ever was. Like, I played football when I was a kid all the way up through high school, and I was just sure that I was going to be like a pro football player. Like, I was positive. But that was before I didn't realize that I was only going to be 5'8", and like 170 pounds, 40 pounds or whatever at the time. And then when we moved into our new neighborhood, like April's dad, my wife's dad, he was the head of the Colorado Avalanche fan club, right? And so he was always, super excited about hockey. I kind of liked it. I mean, I didn't really know anything about it. And when we moved into our new house in our new neighborhood, there was a lot of kids out front playing hockey. And so my two boys, Jordan and Dominic, who were just tiny at the time, they just stood by the window, like watching, like they had hockey sticks and stuff. But they were too afraid to go out there, right? And so eventually, me and April like forced them to go out there and play with the kids in the neighborhood. And as soon as they did that, they became, hockey fanatics. And they played in roller hockey, which I ended up coaching them. And I didn't know anything about hockey, but I was coaching them in roller hockey. And they were getting killed, right? Like, just destroyed in some of these tournaments we'd go to. I remember one time they got beat 22-2 in a tournament.
Holy.
But that was all because it just taught them to just try harder and harder and harder. And eventually they became really good hockey players. And in inline hockey, we won like 3 national championships, me coaching the boys. And then they went on to play ice hockey at sort of the same time. They were like kind of going back and forth. And they got to be pretty good hockey players. Jordan played in Canada. Dominic traveled everywhere, AA, all that sort of stuff. And so just through my boys, I became a hockey fanatic, and the Avs, of course, 1996 won the Stanley Cup, and 2001 won the Cup. And so now, I mean, ever since then, I still like football. I still like it. I watch it. Me and Jordan have a great time watching every Bronco game here in the studio, which is horrible. But I love hockey, and the Avs, who, 3 years ago were the worst team in the league, and Joe Sakic did a really smart thing by building, slowly, taking his time. And now, I mean, the Avs are probably, the most talented young team in the league. And a lot of people are saying, wow, this team could be fantastic for the next 7 years, Yep.
They're definitely top 5 right now. I would easily put them in the top 5, maybe top 3.
Yeah, we just had our first loss last night.
Yeah. So who are some of the over the years since you've become such a hockey fan, what are some of the players that you love to watch now, and even some of the players that you love to go back and watch some of that vintage footage on YouTube?
Well, I mean, let's face it, the whole, Peter Forsberg, Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Foot, all those guys, Dead Marsh, when they had the rivalry with the Wings.
Yep.
This is pre Minnesota Wild days.
Yep.
I mean, that was some of the most amazing hockey ever played. And if just the other day I went back and I was watching the clip when Peter Forsberg, scored all those goals late in the third period to beat the Florida Panthers. It was just a ridiculous game. Like if you go back and watch Peter Forsberg, and that was before all the rules we have now. Like imagine Peter Forsberg in the league now. Like he was such a strong player.
Yeah.
He would dominate under the rules we have now. Forsberg would dominate this league. Like, cause he was just so physically strong, and now you can't really touch him. Like he was getting mauled. Like, I mean, guys were just all over him, and he was still scoring ridiculous amounts of points. And so like, obviously Forsberg is a guy that I love to watch, but now we have Nathan McKinnon, who's a different type of player, super fast, tons of talent, can score on any given play. But the Avs are ridiculously young. I mean, Cale Makar, our new defenseman that we got 4th in the draft like 3 years ago, and he's going to be an amazing player. I mean, the Avs are stocked. They are loaded. I'm excited to see what happens in the next 3 years.
How about college? Do you watch any college hockey?
I mean, I follow the Pioneers, the Denver Pioneers, some, but I'm mainly an NHL guy, really. I just kind of follow the Pios because they've won a few national championships recently, which was fun to follow. But my main love is the Avs. But I like all hockey. Like when the playoffs start, the NHL playoffs start, if the Avs aren't part of the playoffs or they lost or whatever, or they didn't make it, it doesn't matter to me. I can watch every single game and just enjoy it. Like I just love hockey. I love everything about it. To me, it's the last real like man's sport, right? And they're trying to take that out of the game.
Well, and that's a good segue actually. Because I was going to ask, one of the questions I had written down was specifically about physicality and fighting in hockey. So why is fighting so vital for people who don't understand? Why is fighting so vital to pro hockey, and why is fighting not allowed in other team sports?
All right. So first and foremost, people have to ask them, because there's this big push to get fighting out of hockey, right? Because it's
right. There has been ever since I was a little kid. There has been.
Yep.
It's barbaric and this sort of thing. Well, first and foremost, you have to ask yourself: are you fundamentally opposed to two men fighting? Like, are you fundamentally opposed to that? Like, people fight in boxing, people fight in the MMA. People don't seem to be fundamentally opposed to that. Correct? So,
exactly.
Why are people think that it's fundamentally wrong to fight in a sport? Like, it just so happens that in hockey, it's really the only sport that you could send out some schlub, right? And he could whack the wrist of your best forward, break his wrist, and he gets a 2-minute penalty. And he goes, that's worth it, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't do that in football. Like, it's very difficult to go out and just break somebody's wrist or their foot. Like, you'd have to try hard. That would be like, I don't even know how you do it, right? But in hockey, you have a stick. So you could whack
and blades on your feet.
Yeah. So there has to be a way that there's more to a bad play than just a penalty, because a penalty is just 2 minutes. And even if the guy gets suspended for 10 games, who cares? You just took out your best player, right? It's worth it. But it's very different if that team could then turn around and just beat the crap out of your best player, right?
Yeah.
So the hockey, there's an honor to it. And the honor is, hey, two guys are going to fight, and this is going to settle it right here on the ice, and it's going to be over, and then we can play the rest of the game, and that's behind us now. So your guy came out and kind of did a cheap shot on our guy.
Yep.
So now these two guys are going to duke it out, and then it's going to be over, and we forget about it, and then we just play the rest of the game. And that's what I love about it. It's not just a sideshow. It actually is a part of the sport.
Yeah.
That's what I just don't understand, that people don't love it. I mean, like, the people that don't love it, let's face it, they're probably hugging trees somewhere. But that's why I love fighting in hockey. And I hope that there's always at least a little bit of a place for it, because it does police the game. It keeps it honest. It keeps the players honest. And they realize, hey, there's a price to pay. If I do this, there's a price to pay for one of my guys.
Yeah.
And so like that's why they don't. I mean, let's face it, stuff still goes on, but at the same time, there is a level and there is an honor in the sport. And the guys that fight, you know, if you watch a hockey fight, two dudes will duke it out, and they'll, as soon as the refs break it up, they'll pat each other on the back. You
Yeah.
know?
9 times out of 10.
Good job. Good job, buddy. You got me that time. You know, hey, more power to you. And both teams, you know, smack their sticks on the ice and say, wow, good job, guys. And then the game goes back to normal, and then they're playing just as they were before it all happened. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of have opposite stories in that respect, because I grew up in a hockey family. My biological father played in the NHL.
Wow, really?
Seasons. Yeah. And my cousins were both captains of the Minnesota Gophers hockey team. My cousin was the captain of the U.S. women's hockey team, has a couple gold medals.
That's awesome.
I pissed everybody off and played football. So, but the thing for me was when the North Stars left Minnesota in '91, it broke my heart so much that I was done for hockey for so long. So that was my big
there's a lot of people around here who are still
still bitter.
There are a lot of people. Honestly, I know quite a few people, and I kid you not, even as long as it's been, there are people that I know that will not watch the Wild.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, because how do you take hockey out of Minnesota?
Yeah, the state of hockey. You know, it's and one of the things about Minnesota hockey is obviously everybody loves the Wild. They love the Golden Gophers also, but the Minnesota State high school hockey tournament it's literally like it's like a religious experience. And what I mean by that is people take off entire swaths of work to stay home, and it's broadcast on local TV. And now they're even starting to move into streaming, and people literally just sit on their couch for days at a time and just watch these high school teams that they don't know anybody on. They don't have kids on the team. They don't have nephews or any of that stuff on the team. And they just sit and they watch this. And I actually found myself, because I grew up in Indiana not knowing anything about hockey, not caring at all about hockey, and got into many years ago when my son was in the hospital. This happened to be one of the times when the Wild were actually good and the Wild were in the playoffs. And I'm sitting there watching the Wild in the playoffs, and I found myself getting into hockey, you know, sitting in the hospital, you know, next to my son. And then that next year, I sat down and started watching the Minnesota State high school hockey tournament, and I was hooked immediately. And my wife said, "Why are you watching this? You don't even like hockey." I said, "I don't know. I love it."
Well, I have to say I'm a bit jealous of you guys, because I wished hockey, and now hockey is very big in Colorado. It's very popular, but nothing like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to say it's anything like what goes on in Minnesota, because I know what that's like. I mean, I'm very well aware of how popular it is up north, and that's awesome that now we have, you know, the high school hockey here has gotten to be pretty popular, and both my boys played in high school and stuff. But I mean, man, I wish someday it would be as fervent and exciting as the way you guys have it up there. So you guys got something going on there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Let's face it, like the Minnesota Wild, I mean, other than maybe a couple of years, and this could be one of those years, but that's been a very, very competitive team. And in fact, I would say at this point, it's right now, it is the biggest rival of the Avs. And when we go to an Avs game, I'm going to just say this, and this, don't take this the wrong way, but the Minnesota Wild fans are the worst. They are the worst humans on the face of the earth.
Wow.
They're
Worse than Eagles fans?
They're brutal in the stands. I mean, just completely unfair. Like, you know, just like booing the national anthem. I mean, it's like, come on, guys. So, but I appreciate it. They're very, very loyal to their team.
Booing the national anthem. Wow.
Yeah, it's rough. So let's start a little rivalry here between me and you guys.
Yep.
Minnesota Wild, Avalanche.
Well, if you ever make it to this area during hockey season, we'll go together and we'll see a Wild game live at the XL Energy Center.
Yes, I want to do that with you guys.
Yeah, that would be an absolute blast.
In fact, hey, let me tell you this story real quick.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I don't know if you guys know this, but your sponsor, Drew Estate, now a lot of these guys are gone now. They aren't with the company anymore, but there was a bunch of them that were hockey guys. And I don't know if you guys probably remember this or not, but at the Florida Panthers arena, there was a Drew Estate lounge in the arena.
Yeah, and they had that special release.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Special release cigar just for that lounge. Yeah.
Yep. It was the something rat, right?
Year of the rat, I think.
Yeah, because they were throwing rats out. Remember when the Avs beat the Florida Panthers in the Cup?
Yeah.
And they were throwing rats out onto the ice. Well, anyways, so there was a bunch of Drew Estate guys that were hockey players. And we were going to have a Dojo versus Drew Estate hockey game in that arena.
Wow.
We were literally setting it up. We were going to fly down there, and Jordan and Dominic and our team was going to come down there, and we were going to play a bunch of the Drew Estate guys but it never did come to pass. But that was one of the things that we were working on at the time. God, that would have been so incredible had we pulled that off, but it never was meant to be.
Now, real quick, you guys had, and maybe you're going to have it again, a Cigar Dojo hockey team. Yeah. And my old buddy Emmett from Blind Man's Puff was a member of that team as well. So are you guys going to do that again this coming year?
I don't know. We'll see. We took the fall off because the games were on Sunday and we like to watch football together and we didn't want to miss the game. So we played a couple seasons. We had to move up because we were like Jordan and Dominic. We were in one of the leagues, one of the brackets. They wouldn't allow Jordan or Dominic to score goals because they were too good. And so then we moved up, and I think we finished, I don't know, second or third or whatever. And then we were going to do it again, but we thought, then we have to miss football. But we have the cool Dojo jerseys and the Cigar Dojo hockey jerseys. And then we're kind of thinking is every year we'll do another sort of like throwback jersey. Maybe imagine say the Rangers jersey or an old Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, but it'll be Dojo with tobacco leaves instead of like a leaf, right? And so that's sort of the plan now because the jerseys were really popular. Like we made them just to wear to play hockey in, and but they sold so well that we might do that every year just kind of for fun as like a collector's item.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Garrett's got some. We've got some hockey info that we want to have you rank for us.
Okay.
No.
Oh, it's not hockey info. Sorry, not hockey.
We are switching gears.
Switching gears, literally.
Oh, yep, literally.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, literally switching gears.
We've got this new segment. I would like some help naming this segment. If any of the listeners have any ideas of what we could name this segment, please leave some comments. And in the next few weeks, I'll pick a good name. And what it is I give our guest a list of 10 items, and they have to rank it. Their top 5 of this list, and it's non-cigar related. It has to do with a passion or something with our guest's personal life. And I was doing some digging on Eric, and I found that he was a Mopar guy. And so, Eric, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list off. In what digging did you find that I was a Mopar guy? Where did you find info that I was a Mopar guy? So I looked at a lot of old Facebook stuff and your old Instagram profile before you switched it to Master Sensei.
Wow, that's impressive.
And in there you had a picture of a Challenger and made some comments about Mopar. So
I am a big Mopar fan. I've had many in my life.
All right. So here is a list of 10 classic Mopar muscle cars, and I want your top 5.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Ready.
And I have no specific years on this, but we're going to go between, the mid 50s through the 70s. Okay.
Ooh. All right. I'm ready.
Plymouth Fury, Dodge Coronet / Plymouth Belvedere,
Okay.
Plymouth GTX,
Mm.
Roadrunner, the Hemi Dart, the Coronet Super B, Charger Daytona, the Plymouth Barracuda, the Roadrunner Superbird, Challenger RT, and the Plymouth Duster.
Okay. So, first of all, I've had a Plymouth Satellite, 1972 Plymouth Satellite.
Nice.
Which is not on your list, but it's a fantastic car. If you look that up, I think I had a 1971. I had a lowered 1966 Plymouth Fury at one point. I had a 440 4-barrel Coronet. I had a Dart. I think that's all the Mopars I've had. And then my parents had several. Like I grew up like that's what we had. Like, if that was the car that we had growing up, like it was always a Mopar. So I think the greatest Mopar of all time is probably the 1970 Barracuda or Challenger, which is essentially the same car. One's Plymouth, one's Dodge. So probably the 1970, I'll say Challenger. I'm going to go with Challenger and not Barracuda on that. I love the 1963 Plymouth Fury. It's a fantastic car, so I'm going to say that's number 2. By the way, get this. The Belvedere, there was a year when the Belvedere came out, and it was literally made to drag race. Like it was produced for the specific purpose of drag racing. And so like that didn't happen very often. I mean, there was the big whole muscle car, explosion in the 60s.
Yep.
The Belvedere actually came out with one that you could just take directly to the drag strip to drag race it. So I'll put that at number 3. Number 4, you could say the Superbird just because the Superbird changed NASCAR. It was so fast and so good in NASCAR. Like I remember Richard Petty, and I can't think of the other driver's name right now. My brother would know, but it was so good that it actually made NASCAR boring because I remember at the time in NASCAR, you could only race cars that were actual production cars. So like the car actually had to be a production car and they had to make a certain amount of them. So they Mopar made just enough to make it legal to run in NASCAR. And it was so incredibly fast and so much better than the Torinos and anything else that Ford or Chevy was doing that they had to change the rules to make NASCAR not so boring. Because Petty and why can't I think of the other guy's name right now? But they just destroyed everything in NASCAR. So I'll put that at number 4. And the GTX is an amazing car. So I'll put that at number 5. But let's just stick with that. If you could find yourself to this day, a 1971, 72 is almost getting a little too old. So let's say 71 convertible Challenger. That would be like probably the ultimate car for me, a white one.
All right, we'll get on that.
Yeah, just see if you can find one for me, but that costs $80,000.
Awesome. So again,
it drives me crazy, Garrett, that I didn't hang on to some of those cars because, man, I really wished I still had my '66 Plymouth Fury. It was lowered. It was a sweet ride, man.
Oh,
super cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. That is it's a fantastic list. Again, for anyone listening on either the podcast or on Facebook, YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know what that segment should be called.
Yeah. So it is time for the useless fact of the week.
Woot.
And I decided to go in the direction of hockey this week for a useless fact. And I dove into hockey history. And when I'm saying hockey history, I'm not talking back, before they wore helmets and any of that. I'm talking back before there was electricity. And so Eric, do you know, before they used, the modern hockey puck is pressed rubber, what some of the origins of hockey, specifically, looking back into the 1800s, when hockey started to be played, in a lot over in Scotland and England, Canada. Can you remember what it was? Not that you were alive back then, but can you remember what they used instead of a hockey puck back then?
I'm gonna just totally take a flyer on this, not a Philadelphia flyer, but just a flyer that it was probably made of wood.
You're close.
That's what I would have guessed.
You're very close. So
I do not know.
So in large wine casks and whiskey casks, they have the hole on the side of the cask,
The corking hole.
that's called the bung hole.
Bung hole, yeah.
And the thing that they the thing that they put to plug up that hole is called a bung, and it's made of cork.
Wow.
And the large wine casks that from back in the day, that's what they used to use, a cork bung,
A wine bung.
Yeah, a wine bung or a whiskey bung. That was their hockey puck back then. So that is this week's useless fact.
I'm gonna say I can just tell you guys that when Jordan and Dominic were like really into hockey, like let's just say it's, I don't know, the 1990s at some point, they would turn anything into a hockey puck. I mean, it didn't matter, like a tape roll or any kind of ball they could get their hand. I mean, anything became a hockey puck. So I can imagine, back in the day, getting that perfectly shaped, bunghole plug thing into a hockey puck seems like a genius idea to me. Now, cork seems kind of light. It seems like it would be a very light puck.
So and this came up in some of the stuff I was reading. Apparently, those big chunks of cork, over time of having being right in contact with wine or whiskey, they would harden and darken. So that's where that was the origin of the modern hockey puck. And you've got to think, thousands of years before that they just used rocks.
Sure.
Yeah. But then eventually probably too many guys got a rock flying at their face with a wicked slap shot. So they decided to use something a little softer.
I don't know if that would be any better or worse than the hard rubber puck that we have today, though. But still.
Yeah.
Probably dried maple up in Canada, eh?
Dried maple or a cylinder of maple syrup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this week we're going to move in right now to my favorite segment of the whole show ever. Numero de los Muertos.
All right. This week is fun. What I've got is I have 5 numbers. Okay.
That's a lot of numbers.
It is. And each of these numbers represents a different place where these deaths take place.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the numbers, and the numbers are 57, 48, 30, 27, and 24. And what those numbers represent is deaths at these places of all time. Okay. So starting around the 1940s, I think, is when they started keeping track of deaths. What we got to come up with is where these deaths are taking place. What is the event that's happening?
And what's the cause?
The cause will be obvious once you get to the.
So we got 5, and they're all numbers lower than 50.
No, 57, 48,
so
30,
all numbers lower than 60.
24. Yep.
All higher than 20.
Yep. But these are the top 5 places of this thing where these deaths have occurred.
And since the 1940s, roughly?
Yes.
So are we talking natural causes?
No.
Not natural causes. Are all these locations states or countries, different places around the globe?
Different places around the globe.
All right. So we've got are the deaths Do the deaths come about through crime or nefarious?
Mhm.
No, not through crime. Are they accidental deaths?
Yes.
All right, I need another hint.
It is a pastime.
It's a pastime. And this is around the globe.
Correct.
And it would be in each of these places, like one place, 24 people in the past, let's say 60 years, 70 years have died from this. And in this other place, 57 people in this place have died from this.
Correct.
So the number is the amount of people that died.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is it related to sports?
Yes.
Is it related to hockey?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Is it related to football?
No.
But is sports related?
And it's a pastime.
Mhm.
Is it baseball?
No.
Is it a major? Is it one of the big four?
No.
No. Is it a sport?
Do the people die from a natural occurrence? Say lightning.
No.
Is it a team sport?
It can be, but it's usually not.
Oh boy.
Can be, but it's usually not. Well, I can't imagine people dying from basketball.
No.
And that's totally a team sport. So that one's out.
Is it darts?
Ouch.
That would be awesome. Nope.
Not-
All right. Think.
All right, give us a clue.
Yep. I should really come up with clues and hints before the show. That's a good. I'm gonna do a better job of that in the coming weeks. Another clue I can give you is there are many types of this sport.
Many types of the sport.
Is it a sport that you could possibly see on television today?
Yes.
Is it golf?
No.
It can't. It's not bowling.
Nope.
How do you die bowling?
Is it curling?
Nope. Think a less athletic sport.
What's less athletic than?
Than bowling.
Ouch. Ouch. Wow.
Well, we already ruled out golf, bowling, darts. Those are non-athletic.
Where are the people? We need help on our.
Yeah.
Name one location.
That totally gives the whole
Okay.
thing away.
Is
One
it-
of these locations, I mean, all of these locations are iconic
Is it
for
rugby?
these sports. No.
Well, he said that it could be played by yourself or as a team.
Or a team? Okay, so that couldn't be rugby.
That's what makes this especially hard.
Not frisbee.
Figure skating.
All right. Let's go with this particular sport is far more popular in the South in the United States.
Cornhole. That's it. It's cornhole.
No, but that's funny because I do have a question for you later on that.
Okay.
The Southern United States.
Correct. In fact, this particular sport has been mentioned already
It's been mentioned already.
in this episode earlier.
Racing.
Yes.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, I guess it could be a team sport.
Right.
so dying on the track from a collision.
Correct. Crashing.
Wow, yeah.
So,
Auto racing.
yep. So, can you guys name the top 5 tracks that have claimed lives?
Well,
Indianapolis 500 or Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That is number 1.
that's number one.
I grew up in Indiana, so I should have known this one.
How about the It's probably what is that famous Italian Formula One track?
Mhm.
Probably in there that I can't think of the name of.
Monza.
Is that one of them?
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's, that's the thing is Formula One guys. There was a lot of deaths early on because they, the crowd wasn't protected and
Yep.
and
Yeah, that's another part of the statistic is not all of these are drivers. Some of these numbers are spectators as well.
Bystanders.
Yep.
Okay.
How about Watkins Glen? No.
Okay. Where's the big rally in the desert?
So they all got killed at the same time.
No, these are all the deaths that have occurred at these tracks over the years.
Wow. Whew, well,
we have number 1 and number 3.
Are any of them like off-road type rally type races? They're all track races.
They're all track races.
I need to brush up on my Formula One because I'm guessing that's probably most of these.
There's actually only one other Formula One track on this list. So 2 are NASCAR.
Daytona?
Yes, that's number 5.
Talladega.
Nope. Now because Indy and Daytona are the only 2 NASCAR tracks.
Okay.
And the other one is Formula One, and the other one is non-associated.
Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't name the other ones.
Think of the most popular racetrack in the world.
Le Mans.
Well, that's number 4. So we need the number 2 spot.
Monte Carlo.
Nope.
Oh, that was a great guess.
That was a good guess.
Gosh, I haven't watched Formula One for a long time.
We've got all the Formula One.
We've got all those. So we need NASCAR.
No, now we need the. This is the track people go to design race cars.
Oh, you're talking about the? You're not talking about the Autobahn?
That's a highway,
right?
But you're in the right. You're in the right geography.
The design cars there
in Germany.
Yep.
What track? I don't even know tracks in Germany.
I don't either.
Nürburgring.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, I have heard of that track before. It just never came to mind.
This is a very dark topic, Garrett. What's
dark segment?
What is wrong with you?
I did it one week and then it just
it
caught on.
It kind of stuck. It was and we've had some ironic ones and funny ones, and
Garrett needs to be seen by somebody.
Yep, I do. I am certifiable. But Eric, you had said cornhole, which is really funny because I had you had some pictures of various games that you had played throughout the years.
Yeah.
And my question to you was, do you call it bags or cornhole?
We call it cornhole. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
We have the big tournament here with Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. Eric Espinoza and Tommy Lazuka were unbeatable.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here in Minnesota that refuse to call it cornhole because they feel dirty when they say it, but it's called cornhole. I'm sorry.
So they do. Some people call it bags, huh? I really don't know. I mean, I'm not even very good at it. I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I'm not very good either.
I think I'm good, but I'm not.
I have an unorthodox throw. But
you throw overhand?
No, I did for a while. I was trying it out. But in Pennsylvania, they have like another version of it that has like rubber discs.
Oh yeah.
What is that, Jordan? What's that called? And you try to throw the rubber disc instead of into a hole onto like a stake thing. But sort of like horseshoes in a way.
Yeah.
Also like cornhole.
Like the ring toss at the school carnival.
Because it's a board, So like when we were there, everybody played that game. I can't think of the name of it right now, but maybe somebody on online could.
If anybody knows what this game with the rubber disc is, put it in the comments so we can.
And it was much harder. I'm just gonna say because you had to spin the rubber disc in such a way where it wouldn't bounce, So you had to, like put it right on that board. But cornhole is something that we kind of like got into about, I don't know, 3 years ago or so. And it's just a great cigar smoking drinking game, right?
Yeah, it is totally. You can have a beer in your hand and a cigar in your hand and still, still have a lot of fun with that game.
It'll suck. Which is
Oh. So, Eric, let's go into we do a little lightning round every week. Just
lightning round.
Quick answers. If you could give one piece of advice to new cigar consumers, what would it be?
Consumers?
Yes.
I would say try a lot of things. And wait, there's two parts of this. Try a lot of things, but try. People get mad at me sometimes when I say quality over quantity because they think that I'm being snobby, but that isn't really why I say that. I say that because quality, and so you say, well, what's quality? Well, I mean, try a lot of things, but try a lot of things that come out of factories that are good factories that get good tobacco. Because here's what most new cigar smokers do. In fact, we were working on this article, like the evolution of a cigar smoker, which we'll publish at some point in the future. But what a lot of guys do is they get the catalogs, and they start just buying like all these crazy samplers and stuff like that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But, most samplers are filled with really crummy cigars, and then there's like 3 or 4 good ones.
Yeah.
I think it's better, in my opinion, to just buy individual cigars from good factories. You got La Zona, you got Camacho, you got Roma Craft, you got Black Label Trading Company, you got these. Try cigars, Steve Saka and Nick Melillo. Try a bunch of cigars from these types of factories that get good tobacco, and don't just settle on one brand. Like, I see a lot of people settling on one brand, and that isn't wrong either, but you got to think, like, most brands have sort of like a core lineup in their filler and their binder, and they'll just change binders and wrappers, but then the filler is sort of the same.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. If you like that brand, you can smoke that, but don't limit yourself. Try a lot of brands from a lot of good factories. If you're spending a rule of thumb, I say, is, $7. That doesn't mean that every cheaper cigar is crummy, but let's face it. Some of these $2, $3 bundle cigars, they're $2 or $3 for a reason.
Yeah.
And, I think it's, in my opinion, life's too short to smoke a crummy cigar. So, try cigars that are in that range, and try a good, variants of brands that come out of Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Honduras. Don't get too tied into just one thing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So the same question, if you could give one piece of advice to cigar retailers, and specifically brick and mortar cigar retailers, what would that be? Oh
man, we talk about this all the time in Dojo headquarters. Like, I think the biggest problem with most cigar lounges, and I don't even 100% know how to solve this problem. So it's sort of unfair for me to say what I'm about to say because I don't have the answer to it. But what I can tell you is it's intimidating when you come into a shop and there's this sort of like, round table of regulars, and everybody has like their seat. Like, here's Charlie, here's Fred, here's Chuck, boom, boom, boom. And you come in there and you just feel like, you're not in the loop.
Yeah,
you know
like an outsider.
And I don't exactly know how to solve that problem, but I've been in cigar lounges that are really, really good that don't have that problem. And usually the problem is solved when there's, not just this ring of fire of chairs. Like, maybe it's more spread out, and like maybe there's a bar where you can sit, and then maybe there's like little nooks and crannies where you can sit, and it's not just a ring of fire of guys that are just regulars that you go in there and they all look at you like, who's the newbie? And then there's one other thing that drives me crazy is you go into the humidor and like a guy follows you in there, and he just like follows you all around wherever you go.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I just don't want you following me wherever I go, Like, I realize that maybe you think that maybe I'm going to be stealing from you or something, but I don't want somebody just following me around.
Yeah. Put up cameras.
Yeah, whatever you got to do. I don't know.
Come in and say hello. Ask me what I'm in the mood to smoke, but then leave me alone.
I think that there has to be some sort of level of trust, like, because there's new guys that come in there that want advice. And
Yeah.
that's true. Like, they should be there to give them advice. But if the guy says, hey, what are you looking for? And you say, oh, yeah, I kind of know already. Like, let the guy sort of browse without you just being right over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we know you had a great interview recently with Scott Pierce from the PCA. So
right.
And I love the questions that you asked. You did not hold back, and I really appreciated that. And I also, and I've talked about this on a couple shows recently, that I applaud him for owning up to a lot and giving the straightforward answers that he gave. So if you could give one piece of advice to the PCA as an organization, what would it be?
My piece of advice to the PCA is just go ahead and own the fact that the cigar trade show is not the same as it was 10 years ago. Like, just own up to it. Because here's the thing, guys. Consumer Electronics Show, right? CSE, right? There's reason that you need to see electronics. You need to go to that show to see the new electronics. You have to go to see the new electronics. You have to hold it in your hand. You have to see how it functions. How does the new, virtual reality glasses work? How does the new, all this work, right? You have to, it's important to go to CSI. Honestly, it's not important to go to a cigar trade show. Everybody knows how a cigar functions. And other than the fact that there are, good cigars and bad cigars, I mean, yeah, that's important to try, but you can try those without going to the show. So there's no real reason anymore for all of the retailers to go to a cigar trade show. There just isn't. So own that fact. Like, right now, they're sort of like halfway in between. Like, like a football team, like the Broncos, for instance, like the Broncos, they're halfway in between. Should we rebuild or should we not rebuild? Maybe we have the guys that can win the Super Bowl. Well, maybe we should rebuild. Well, they're stuck in this like halfway in between mode. I would say to the PCA, don't be in that halfway in between mode. Just right now, own it. There's no reason to have the cigar trade show the way it's been for the last 80 years. You don't need to go to a trade show to see the newest cigars. And that's why CigarCon came about, because they're realizing this fact, right? But I feel like they're not fully owning it. I feel like maybe Scott is, but maybe not everybody else is.
Yeah.
And that's why they changed their mind about CigarCon next year. I see the trade show, the IPCPR, is maybe eventually being more like the Great American Beer Fest, which happens right here in Colorado. It eventually will just be more of a consumer event, and it'll just be with everybody, because you just don't need to have retailers go to this event anymore. It just doesn't make sense. I wish it did, but it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Broncos made that decision today.
I hope so.
Well, they
I know. Emmanuel Sanders got traded to the 49ers for a
second and a
fourth. Emmanuel and a fifth got traded to the 49ers for a third and a fourth. But, the Broncos are way behind the eight ball. Like, the 49ers did this and the Raiders did this a couple years ago. You just got to own it. You got to just say, we got to just rebuild. And that's what the PCA needs to do. They just need to rebuild and realize that times have changed.
Yeah.
And as much as we want to hang on to the way it's been, you can't. And TPE is in January, like the Tobacco Plus Expo is in January. And they, I think, have a bit of a head start on maybe rethinking the way trade shows should be. And so I hope that the PCA just says, all right, screw it. We're either going to die or we're going to just do this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they do it. And I'm behind it. I'm one of the few media guys that's supported this all the way. Don't get me wrong. I don't feel like the PCA has done everything exactly right. I'm not going to just sugarcoat everything that they've done, but I feel like I was behind CigarCon the entire time. And I was one of the few guys, maybe me and Seth, we were let's just do this. Let's just go for it. We got to change, because otherwise it's going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let's move into notable smokables for the week. And so Eric, each week, Garrett and I talk about just some interesting stuff we smoked. It could be old, it could be new, just something that we thought was interesting. So Garrett, do you have one to start out? Otherwise, I do.
Go ahead.
So I smoked one that was very interesting. I actually got it as a gift in a cigar bomb from a friend about a year ago, maybe more, and I just didn't get around to smoking it until now. And it's called the it's called the Backdoor Bambi, and it's a Caldwell, one of those. I think it's sort of a lost and found, but it's a Caldwell cigar. And actually, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good cigar. I was pleasantly surprised by it. But that name, wow, Backdoor Bambi.
Backdoor Bambi. Yeah. I'd love to know the origin of that.
Yeah, I don't want to know the origin of that
not.
name, actually.
One of mine is the Protocol MI5, and that was a good cigar.
MI5, what's that?
It's it was one of the ones that they had sent to us.
Which the Themis.
Oh, it's a Themis?
Yeah.
I called it the MI5 because
I don't know where you got MI5.
Well, because it kind of looks like MI5. And I thought they were.
This is a great cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Themis. So that happened. I called the Themis MI5. Well, the M, and it looked like yeah. So I had the Themis.
You're adorable. Eric, did you have something interesting you smoked this last week?
Yeah, I had Risty Ristevsky on the show Friday night, and Quinn is his rep, the Colorado rep, and he was in studio with us, and he brought us some of the Tyrannical Buck Connecticut, and in a Corona size, and it was one of the best Connecticut's. It was really, really good. It did not taste at all like a Connecticut. Now that, so why does that make it good? Not necessarily. I love Connecticut's, but it was an excellent cigar. And speaking of Connecticut's, the Desert Rose, Rose of Sharon, that from Southern Draw, was another fantastic, very highly rated by us. I think we gave it a 93. Super creamy. Those two Connecticut's really stood out for me this summer.
Yeah, that Desert Rose, and you're right, the Tyrannical Buck Connecticut, especially that little Corona is
so good.
Surprised me a lot. Like I'm not gonna say that I didn't want to like it. I just didn't have any opinion of it at all.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm saying I didn't want to like it. I'm just saying I had no dog in the fight. They're not, neither one of those companies, by the way, advertise with us or anything. And the Jossam Crawl, Tyrannical Buck, Corona was Connecticut. It was so good. I really liked that. I really want us to review that cigar on the dojo. I'll give it a full review because it was really tasty, and it just surprised me. Like, I don't know. It shouldn't have surprised me. They make good stuff. I'm just saying, like, I just wasn't expecting it to be the way it tasted. It just tasted, it has such a unique, interesting flavor.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Garrett stole one of mine. I actually had the Themis on my list also. That
the MI5.
The MI5.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm going to tell Juan you said that. He'll laugh his ass off. But then I also as has happened so many times in the last couple months, just because of the move and all that, I keep finding all these cigars I forgot I had, and I had this old La Serena Mermaid. That I hadn't. I totally forgot it was in the humidor, and I honestly, and I don't want to sound. I don't say this in a mean way by any stretch, but it's honestly just kind of a brand that I sort of forgot about, and
I think everybody has.
Yeah. And I pulled that cigar out, a little Robusto, and it was great. It was very good. And sure, it's got 4 or 5 years of age on it, but it was a very good little cigar. So and then that sort of piques my interest, thinking, gosh, I wonder what's going on with that brand. So I'm gonna pursue it a little bit and see if I can find some more of them.
Well, and another one for me was the Leaf by Oscar Sumatra.
Oh, that's Sumatra.
Ugh.
I mean, I love the Leaf by Oscar, but there's something about that
Sumatra.
Which Vitola did you have?
It was the I don't know if they call it a Corona Gordo or
I think it's Yeah,
I don't
it
know if
seems
their
more
Vortola is-
like a super robusto. It's,
Yeah.
but it's good.
Yep.
Definitely a good cigar. Eric, anything else of note you can think of from this last week or so?
I think the cigar that I've smoked the most in the last 3 or 4 weeks has been the Perdomo 12-year. Like I'm gonna be honest with you guys. All these years, like Perdomo is one of the biggest brands. They sell more than almost any cigar, but I've just never been into them. Like I haven't known that much about them. And when we went to Philadelphia to do the Nightstick release, my buddy Jeff Todd was like, "Oh man, you got to try this. You got to try this Perdomo 12-year, right?" And so like I think I smoked the Connecticut in I'm trying to think of the shop in Philly. You guys would know the name of it if I said it, but I can't. It's like an Ashton Lounge. And Holtz, Jordan.
Holtz.
Thank you, Jordan. So I had the Connecticut 12-year there, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I didn't think about it at all for like 4 months, right? And I just said, I really like that Perdomo 12-year. I'm just going to order a box, like just out of nowhere. Like I don't normally do that. And so I ordered a box of the Sun-Grown, and I ordered a box of the Connecticut. And I've been smoking that thing almost I'm not kidding you, maybe 3-4 times a week. It is so phenomenal. And then I didn't send, but I told Robbie Rasmussen, I was like, man, you got to try this. And he smoked it, and he was like, God, this thing is so good. And Jordan's been smoking him, and now everybody around me has been smoking him. That is, guys, I'm telling you, the Connecticut and the Sun-Grown and the 12-year is absolutely, it's one of the most flavorful, unique, delicious cigars you'll ever have. I love it.
Oh, that's all. Yeah, I got to check that out.
Try it too.
Perdomo is a brand that I was really into many years ago, but it's
champagne was just
the champagne and the lot.
Yeah, they don't make a bad cigar, but try the 12-year.
All right.
Tell me, you guys, send me messages on Facebook when you try it, because I really want to know what you two think, because something about that cigar is just so approachable for anybody. Like it doesn't matter if you're like a new cigar smoker or anybody. I think like my wife would probably like that, and she doesn't even smoke cigars.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm gonna give that a try. So guys, for those of you watching and listening, I want to give you a couple notes of some stuff we have coming up. So a week from tonight, we're really happy that we're going to be broadcasting live on location from Sodi's Cigar and Pipe in Stillwater, Minnesota. Great shop, great location. They have a fantastic selection in their humidor and a lot of great people. So we're going to sit down and talk to them about what it's like to operate a brick and mortar cigar shop, and how they work together with their customers and their reps, and kind of learn a little bit of the inside baseball about running a cigar shop. The week after that, on November 5th, we're really excited to have Mr. Rainier Lorenzo from HVC Cigars live on the show. And then the following week on November 12th, Mr. Sean Williams from Cohiba Cigars. Very excited to have him on as well. And we have more coming up after that that we'll give you notes about in the coming weeks. Eric, give everybody a little bit of a closing out. Give us a reminder of what's coming up with the dojo, if you have some special guests coming up on Smoke Night Live soon and things like that.
All right, thank you. So this Friday, we're going to have a special show. Nick Labrita from JR Cigars is going to be on. We're going to be talking about our Fab Fives, like a five of something. Like, is it your 5 favorite Connecticut's? Is it your 5 favorite Lazona cigars? Is it your 5 favorite Mopar cars? Is it your 5 favorite albums of all time? 5 favorites, the Fab 5. We'll be giving away some really, in fact, I think I have a prize here I can show you. Anyways, we're going to be giving away 5 of the dojo collaborations on the show, and that'll be fun. And then I think the week after that, we go to, is that the week we go to, we might go to Lazona Palooza. We'll be in Miami. We'll be doing something live down there. So yeah, we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Otherwise, just go to cigardojo.com, check out the reviews. Tomorrow we have a big announcement on the new dojo collaboration. So check that out. And then every Friday night we do our thing. Plus, guys, we have the new pairing show, which is Flavor Odyssey A to Z. That's Robbie Rasmussen and Randy Griggs every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. This week they're doing the Guardian of the Farm Night Watch paired with a Guinness Extra Stout. So that's tomorrow
Nice.
at 6 p.m. So that's our newest show that we just started about 6 weeks ago.
Nice.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's I've enjoyed seeing that. It's a cool concept, and we've been fans of the Cigar Dojo for a long time, and we wish you guys nothing but the best in the future.
Yep.
And for those of you guys watching us right now and listening to us, install the app on your smartphone. Go to cigardojo.com. Get liked on their Facebook page and Instagram and all that stuff, because they really do it right, and we appreciate what they do for the cigar community and the cigar culture. So, Eric, thanks very much for being on the show with us tonight.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. So, guys, like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And until we see you next time, burn cigars,
Not bridges.
take care, guys. Thank
Thanks.
you.